Minister, the 60 Minutes television program on Sunday night exposed serious problems with the Andrews government's mismanagement of quarantine hotels. On what date in March or April were you advised that there were serious issues with the hotel security program?
I will take the member's question on notice, and I will provide her with a written answer in accordance with the standing orders, and I give a commitment to do so in the usual time frame, which will be by tomorrow, even though the House will not be sitting tomorrow.
Thank you. Ms Grosjean, supplementary.
Goodness me, President. Well, that just says it all while we're in this mess. Minister, do you accept full responsibility for the failures in the hotel quarantine security program?
Minister.
As I said, I will be providing the member with a written response to this question, in accordance with the standing orders of the House.
Resign. You're a disgrace.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister for Health. Mr. President, Minister, why is the government not listening to the advice of former Federal Department of Health head Professor Stephen Duckett, or Melbourne University Professor Tony Blakey, or Professor Bill Boutel, adjunct professor at University of New South Wales, and other authors of the Australian Medical Journal article which advocates the pursuit of coronavirus elimination rather than the yo-yo pattern we are now in?
Minister.
I thank the member for his question. I will provide him with a written response in accordance with the standing orders by tomorrow.
Order.
You have no shame, do you? You have no shame.
Thank you.
God, struggling. Unbelievable.
Thank you. Mr Hayes on the supplementary.
Thanks, Minister. I look forward to the answer. Minister, a supplementary question. Has the Minister and the Government done a breakdown of the health costs of a strategy of elimination and compared it with the health costs of the strategy of suppression, which is currently being pursued? And if so, will she make the results publicly available?
Minister.
Thank you. I will provide a written response to the supplementary question also.
Well, President, I hope the Minister can do a little bit better than answering the last two questions.
Wouldn't be hard.
Minister, my question is to the Minister for Health and for the Coordination of Health and Human Services. Minister, the Doherty Institute has undertaken a genomic report into Victoria's COVID-19 positive cases. Will you release the report today?
Minister.
I thank the member for her question. I will be providing her with a written response to her question by tomorrow.
Well, President, I just am absolutely astounded by the smugness, arrogance and appalling behaviour by the Minister. Minister, in the interests of truth and transparency, in the interests of those who have lost their loved ones, for the thousands of Victorians who have lost their jobs, their livelihoods, will you release the report today and stop the cover-up?
Mr David.
President, my question is also to the Minister for Health and Coordination of Health and Human Services in COVID. And Minister, the opposition has, on behalf of the Victorian community, sought access to background documents and working papers and the scientific papers that have informed each and every one of the health orders that has been made in the recent period since March. And your department has refused to provide that information. In addition, that has now become subject to an FOI series and is now at VCAT. So I ask, what do you have to hide, or what do you have to cover up that would be made evident in these documents?
Minister.
I thank the member. I'll be providing him with a written response to his question by tomorrow.
Sir Davis on the supplementary.
President, that is an appalling response by the Minister, an appalling contempt of the Parliament, contempt of the community. This is a very serious matter. It's a matter that is impacting right across our whole community. And Minister, you need to understand that this is something that you are responsible for and you need to answer to this parliament. I ask you... I have...
What about those people?
Mr. Davis has got the floor.
I ask very simply today, on behalf of those people who have lost loved ones, on behalf of those who have lost their businesses, will you today give a commitment to release that background information, the scientific working papers, all of the information which has been relied for those health orders? The community has a right to see that information. It has a right to make its judgments about it. So I'm asking you today to reverse your position and to give a commitment today to release it.
Minister.
Refer the member to my previous response.
Mr. Rich Phillips on a point forward.
Mr. President, my point of order goes to the nature of the responses the Minister for Health has been providing to all questions in question time today. The subject matter of Ms Crozier's questions, Mr Davis's questions, Mr Hayes' questions are not esoteric matters. They are matters which are absolutely current and contemporary and which the Minister is deeply involved in and has been deeply involved in for months. The provision in standing orders which allows a Minister to take a question on notice is put in place for those matters which a Minister might handle on behalf of another Minister in another chamber, for those matters which are not contemporary, up-to-date, complex technical matters, data as Ms Crozier mentions. The matters which the Minister for Health has been asked about today are all contemporary matters that she is heavily involved in on a day-to-day basis and has been for months. So her decision not to provide answers in the chamber today, when she clearly has the capacity to do so, is nothing more than a contempt of this chamber, and I would ask that you direct her to provide verbal answers when quite clearly you know and every other member of this chamber knows she is involved in these matters, deeply involved in these matters, contemporary matters, and she has the capacity to give verbal answers today.
Thank you.
Whilst a Minister may technically respond with a detailed response the next day under the orders, or 2 days if it's for a different Minister, that is certainly not the intention or practice, President, of this House. The intention is that Ministers be held accountable, and Ministers, these are not technical matters on which the Minister does not know some background detail which she would seek. This is an attempt to obfuscate, to block, to cover up her failure, to cover up her incompetence. I ask you to rule that she is willfully and deliberately blocking the release of these documents, this background information, all of the material that she has been asked for today, and that she is not behaving in a way that is becoming of a Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Maybe the Minister would know this answer off the top of her head. My question is to the Minister for Health. And when the government first started to take action against the pandemic, there was much talk about flattening the curve. The rationale for this was not to eliminate the virus, as that was considered an unrealistic objective, but that the healthcare system has limited capacity, primarily ICU beds and ventilators, but other things as well, and we don't want that capacity to be overwhelmed. Fair enough. My question to the Minister is this: what is the current utilisation and spare capacity of ICU beds and ventilators, and how does that utilisation rate justify the recently announced stricter lockdown measures?
Minister.
I thank the member for his question. I will take that question on notice and provide him with a written response by tomorrow.
Mr. Limbering on supplementary.
Thank you, President. I'll look forward to reading that response. If we think about the harms related to the pandemic, there is one could consider a spectrum of action the government could take. On the one hand, we could have no action, in which case there would be harms caused by the disease to things like life expectancy. At the other extreme, hard and extended lockdowns can also cause longer-term harms to life expectancy through poverty, mental and physical health problems, crowding out of medical research and development, lack of testing of other diseases, suicide and etc. What modelling has the government done to quantify these harms caused by their actions?
Minister.
I refer the member to my previous, my reply to his previous question.
Thank you. Minister statement.
You must have photos of Dan or something.
Ms. Grosjean.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Health and Coordination of Health and Human Services again. And Minister, your answers so far have been so disrespectful to the people of Victoria. Please answer the questions. Minister, the public health the public health team that critically includes contact tracing had less funding in 2019-20 than in 2016 and 17. Isn't it a fact, Minister, that you have cut public health, including contact tracing, to the bone, leaving Victorians exposed when the COVID-19 pandemic hit?
Minister.
I thank the member. I will be providing her with a written response to her question by tomorrow.
Order, please. Ms. Grosjean on a supplementary.
Well, President, it's an absolute pantomime with the Minister in here today, and she's just holding the Victorian people with absolute contempt. Minister, will you take responsibility for the total failure of contact tracing since the COVID-19 escape from Victoria's failed hotel quarantine system? You have showed just how you absolutely have mismanaged and your incompetence by your handling of questions today. And will you do the right thing on behalf of all Victorians and just resign?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to take that and give me a written answer tomorrow too.
Let's start a survey, shall we?
Minister.
Does anybody in Bourke Street?
Thank you, President. I refer to the reply to the previous question.
Thank you. Minister statement. Barton.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is for Minister Mikakos, representing the Minister for Industry Support and Recovery, Minister Pecula. Minister, on August 3, the government announced additional business support packages that include a one-off grant for $10,000 for employing businesses in metropolitan Melbourne and the Mitchell Shire, and $5,000 for employing businesses in regional local government areas. Minister, for the great majority of hire car drivers that work in the commercial passenger industry, they are sole traders. They've had their superannuation taken away from them only a few short years ago. Many operators are bleeding as they have overheads, car loans. In our industry, this is akin to a commercial lease on a business property. Car insurance, rego insurance, all those on multiple vehicles. Many engaged drivers do not employ them in traditional sense of the word, so they are not eligible. The hire car industry, as for all personalised transport providers, relies exclusively for the movement of people to make a quid, to earn an income. My question is to the Minister, what support packages are available for the many thousands of sole trader hire car drivers that have not been able to work since March?
Thank you. Minister.
Thank the member for his question. I will be referring his question to the responsible minister, who will provide him with a written response in accordance with the standing orders.
Supplementary, Mr. Barton.
Thank you, Minister. My supplementary question is, will the government make a commitment to review the support packages to cover hire car drivers, those who have fallen through the cracks, who are sole traders?
Minister.
I refer the member to the response I gave to his previous question.
Dr. Cummings.